Unlisted. All right, there we go. What's up? What's up? We're doing a live stream. I don't know what's gonna happen, but we're gonna do it. I need to do some Blender stuff on this, so let me mute myself so I don't hear echo. One sec here. There we go. All right. This is what we're working on. I posted this shot a few months ago and we shot it, but I'm doing some CG for it now. It's a full sequence, so just working on some Blender stuff. No, it won't be recorded. Usually I don't record them. You just do it live and that's it. I don't know if I'm doing any specific techniques or anything, but I got to do a lot of stuff on these shots here, so I might as well just like go live with it. I already did one of the shots. I can show it maybe if more people show up, but anyways, yeah, I don't know, prepping out the shot right now. So it's mostly prepped already. So I just need to do a little bit more prep, and I need to track a bunch of things in the same world space. So that's pretty tricky stuff, which is what I'm doing right now with GeoTracker on a few different pieces of geometry here. Mainly because I'm replacing, so basically what the shot is, there's this dude. It's not a dude, actually, it's my wife in there, but yeah, she's in there. And basically we have this prop that we're motion tracking and prepping out what's behind it, because the prop is actually going to be glass, so you have to see through it. So it's relatively complicated because the rendering actually implies that you need to reflect the plate into the glass, and you need to see through glass into the person itself. So it's sort of complicated, but yeah, most of the prep is already done here, and I need to actually restore these reflections in the eyes. So I'm gonna do some CG. I tracked the mask already, but I need to add some eyes. So basically create some CG reflections to reflect the fake CG that we're putting in. So this will be CG, and then these will actually reflect back that same thing. Plus, I need to prep myself out of the eyeglasses, because I think I can see a slight silhouette of myself, because I filmed this. This is paintwork, yeah. This is all paintwork, yeah. So yeah, this is this shot. I have another shot. This is the close-up. I have a wider shot that I did just before this. That is about done. I need to QC it still, but yeah, it's that's what we got going on. But right now I'm trying to get all these things in the same world space. So this is always kind of tricky with Keen Tools, although Keen Tools makes it pretty straightforward. So basically what I'm trying to say is we have like this sphere, and then I have the projection plate, and also, where is it? The face mask. So I track the mask too, so you can actually see there's geometry for the face. So that's going to be pretty good. You don't want to actually track I don't want to track the eyes because it's reflecting. So I can't track the thing I need to add is reflections, but I can't track that. So I model just like a real simple, I don't even think it's accurate. It's just like a real quick Blender thing, and just model the sort of outline of the mask. And then that's what I'm using to track around the face. And then I can add I need to add the little bulb. I don't know what those would be called, the glass bulbs in Blender, and then I'll reflect it back and all that stuff. So yeah, this is all Keen Tools actually. Most of mostly geo tracker is really handy. So that's why I did the where is it? The little dots here. It's a little bit out of focus and still tracks, like, surprisingly. Like these little black. I just took like a black marker on these, and that gives you the rotation. You need to have a few around. You can't just have like a few on the front, because if the person rotates the object, for object tracking, you need to have markers that kind of go a little bit around the object slightly, because that'll tell you the rotation. It'll also help with the general like scale and stuff like that, but mostly the rotation, especially for this, because you can see there's a little bit of a rotate on the end here where it kind of rotates. So it actually does a pretty good job. For advanced paintwork, there's a new one I added in the bonus section. I did a pretty that planar track I did last tutorial I did is a fairly complex paintwork. It doesn't look complex, but if you look close at it, it's fairly complex, because there's like light changing. Where paint is hard is like lights flickering and shadows passing over and things that are slightly rotating, and that's why I picked that shot to do, because I thought it was like above beginner, but still enough complex that most people probably haven't done that level of paint work. And if you're a junior or whatever trying to get in and you do that paint shot, it's pretty good. Even just that simple shot, it looks simple, but if you do like an actual breakdown and stuff of just that shot on your reel, employers are going to be like, whoa, this guy can actually, that's like more than 90% of people have on their reel. So it's not like you have to have like transformers on your reel to get a job nowadays. It's just like you need to just do the fundamentals right, kind of thing. So okay, so let me get into the flow of this for a second. I'm just kind of zooming around right now. Let me think. What do I need to do here? So I'll just show you guys what I have right now first. So that's what all these blue things are. We have the sphere. Where is it? Nick is being stupid. There it is. We have the ground plane. And then I have the person. And then I have the mask. So getting these all into world space is actually, that's the tricky part. It's not like independently tracking each one of these, because you need to track the shot, the face, the sphere, but they need to all be scaled in the right space because they need to interact. So that's the tricky part, but essentially Keen Tools makes it really easy. And I'll just show you guys this. If you never use Keen Tools, it's like pretty straightforward. Basically what you do is, let's just switch to it quick. I'm just gonna do a new one so don't break my stuff. Oh, one sec. Yeah, email again. If I miss your email, that's my bad. I usually try to hit them all back in like a day or two. If I missed it, that's usually I don't miss it, but so, occasionally it can happen, I guess. So yeah, just like shoot me an email again. I'll try to respond right away. What's up? Yeah, dude, you got to get a few paint shots. It goes a long way. It doesn't mean you need to do like only roto and paint on reel. I think that's sort of a most people aren't starting in roto paint now, and depending on which country you're in, I guess. But you know, having that down is good, but you do need to have some of it in your reel. I would think, just, you know, a solid junior compositor will be able to do that. So, you know. Anyways, so let me just save a backup of this because I don't want to break this, just in case. So yeah, I'll just redo it real quick. I'll just do a fast version of this. Do like a 30-second version. It's not like super complicated, really. It's just mostly just like tedious. So let's just like this. Let me do a new geo tracker. Yeah, I don't do streams normal. I don't do streams all the time. I'm just messing around right now. Sometimes I might do like a Patreon or something. I don't know. But a lot of people have asked for it, but I haven't done it. Mainly because the thing that stops me every time from doing it is like, oh, but I don't know what people actually want. I'm like, I don't know if I should give the wrong thing or not, because Patreon feels like you have to like give a whole bunch of stuff. So I'm not exactly sure the way I would want to do it. So I don't know. You guys can tell me if that's something you want, but it's something I got to figure out in terms of the format Usually I'm always trying to get the format right, and it's like, if I can't figure out the structure of it, it's a little bit confusing. But yeah, so this is kind of GeoTracker. I really love GeoTracker. GeoTracker is the best. They have a Blender plugin now too, but I would still use it in Nuke. I definitely wouldn't use it in Blender because you can just export it to Blender. But this is, yeah, so you just basically what you do is you tick, if you guys have never used this, if you're ever going to do an object track, which at some point you're going to do it, I think they have a free trial. You can just play around and do one. But basically you're just dragging these like pins. They're called pins, and you don't want to put like a million of them. You just want to put like a few. It's the same with like any type of tracking or roto. If you start putting too many things, it's gonna jitter. It's the same with any. I think, you know, I learned this from a lead match move artist actually, and I saw how those guys track. If you want to learn tracking, watch a match move artist do their job. They don't even think like compositors. The way that they see motion and subpixel motion is crazy. Like they see motion better than any other discipline because they can pull off tracks that nobody else can. So those are the guys to really learn from in terms of how to think about tracking. But it's the same concept. It's like you know, not putting a million keyframes if you don't need to, trying to set changes of motion and things like that. Key Tools is, yeah, every studio has Key Tools pretty much. I've used it a lot. I used it a lot on a few of the last films I worked on. I actually used it on like, there was one sequence where I was the only person who had used Key Tools, and I did like 50 shots or something like that, where I just had to like, okay, I'll just track them all because it was kind of a task that really, they needed it for like a bunch of faces. But it's really a good thing to know. I think it's, I don't know the exact price, but it's if you ever need a shot where you need it, it's kind of the only tool to do it, unless you want to do it manually. You could do it with like Synthesize. Synthesize has an object tracker as well. I think what was it, Boris Effects? The guys who own Mocha just bought what did they buy? They bought Synthesize. So that means, I guess, if you have their package now you get that too. I don't know. I haven't used Synthesize in a while, so I haven't used that in a few years, to be honest. But anyways, put a few points and you basically just like hit track. So I'm just gamma down here, and I can track forwards. I need to load it. I use it to analyze first. So if I do this, load this file, analysis file, and then hit track, you'll see it pretty much does a really good job. Even when it goes off frame a little bit, it's like pretty impressive. So like here you can see it just like sticks. But the cool thing about this is the thing that always confused me with object tracks was like, okay, you track an object and you track a camera. Now, how do you get those two things to work together? Because oftentimes you need that object track to be positioned in world space. So that's where it gets confusing. But Key Tools actually makes it super easy because you can plug in your camera and then you can set the scale. So if I go into here, if I go into GeoTracker and I go to this results tab, there's this thing called scale. And basically what you're doing is you're projecting it. It's projecting it out. And if you look at the viewer, it doesn't change size in the viewer. It's just changing the world scale of that. So if you figure out the world scale of your footage, which is what you do when you set up a 3D track, you figure out the world scale. Usually, if you did it the right way, hopefully you took some measurements on set, stuff like that. I'm not paid by Key Tools, but I actually like their tool. So I am happy to like talk about it for them or whatever, just because yeah, it's just a good technique. But otherwise I would have called it the Key Tools stream, but it's not. We've been talking about it for 5 minutes, but anyways, why I like it is because you can project it out and you hit results and you can scale it here to the track. So basically, where's the thing? This is the plane that I scaled relative to the track. So whenever you do a track, you do your scale, right? You go to your camera tracker. I don't have it in this script, but I don't know. You do your camera tracker, and then you set a distance constraint. You select 2 points, you set a distance, and whatever measurement you have on set, if it's meters or feet or whatever, you have some kind of constraint, and that scales your scene. And your scene needs to be relative to the scale because you're going to light it after. So you want to make sure everything's in the correct world scale, as close as you can get it. And if you don't have any measurement on set, then you can just eyeball it. So normally what I would do is I would look at something like maybe this behind thing. Maybe that's like 2 or 3 feet, something like that. And I would try to like set up between those 2 points. So I know it's like relatively close to the world scale. And then your camera is correctly scaled. And then you take your object tracks and you project them into that world space, essentially. So that's it. And that's what I'm doing here with the sphere. So whatever, you have the track, you scale it. And then you're like, well, how big do I scale it? Like, where do I put this sphere? How do you know where to put that, even if you have the 3D camera? And the way is you can use projections to figure out distance to the subject. So this technique, I'll just show this just because it's kind of cool. Let's see. So if I have, the one thing you always figure out when you do a camera track first is you figure out the ground plane and the scale. That's all figured out. But okay, so the mystery variable is how far away is the person to the from the camera. Basically distance to camera. So let's see if I project a vertical card to figure out where the person is. What you can do is you scale this out, and so how far away is that card supposed to be from the camera? You don't know, but it's somewhere in between this space. But the way you can actually do it is you take that card and you put this into UV space. Okay, so you switch this scanline render. Instead of it just seeing what you're filming, you switch it to UV space. And if I hit play, basically what will happen is it's like a stabilized version. You see the camera's not turning down anymore. It's just revealing a different part of the footage. So it's kind of stabilizing. This is how you actually do a 3D stabilize. This is how you do it. But the way you know that it's in the right spot is that the person doesn't slide on the surface of the projection. So if I were to like take this, and put it in the wrong spot and I hit play, let's just look at it. So if I see that the person is sliding, like you see how the person is moving down my screen, that means that that card is not in the same position as the person. But if the thing that you're projecting onto, it sticks, like it doesn't move down your screen. So if I move it back to where it was and I hit play, you see the difference? Like the camera moves, but the guide doesn't move. So yeah, it's sort of a trial and error, but another way to do it is a way to be like scientific about it is if you do a time offset. So you do a time offset of like 5 frames, you offset the frame you're looking at and you do a difference. Essentially what you're trying to find is where those 2 times have the least difference, because what you're trying to do is figure out, how do I explain this? Because you're doing a projection, and when you have a geometry at the right position as something was actually filmed, it will look like that thing doesn't slide. That's what it will look like. And so when you do this technique of a time offset and then a difference, you want to try to get this merged footage to look as black as possible. That means there's very little difference between those 2 clips. And so essentially that's the technique. It's like you slide this card around in 3D space until the result out of this little technique turns black. And if it turns black, that's basically, you know that you're at the right distance to the object that you're trying to figure it out. Because a lot of times you're trying to figure out where something is in 2-dimensional footage that you filmed, and you're trying to get a 3D object onto that spot. And so that technique is essentially how you do it. It could, maybe not. That one was a planar track. This is like a 3D track. But that technique, this technique of doing a time offset and a difference, you can also do it on planar tracks. I think I did it. I talked about it in one of my classes at some point. Yeah, it's just a way to check like if something's actually stabilized and everything like that. So, Points to 3D. Yes, you could do it as well. Points to 3D, you could do it as well. There's like that's another way you can do it, especially for environments and stuff. That's another way to do it. So there's a few different ways. Sometimes this helps. The reason sometimes this technique could be better than like a points to 3D would be sometimes you're not tracking things that are perfectly facing you. Sometimes you're tracking things that are kind of at an angle. You know, like if I was looking at what's the footage? Like this footage, this thing is kind of vertical behind it, but it's actually a pier, it's like a dock, but it's not we're not filming at it perfectly perpendicular. So if you were to get the card in the right position and you wanted to project onto it, how do you figure out the rotation of that card? It's the same kind of problem. Like you need to, because if you just have it perfectly horizontal, but the dock is at a slightly different angle, basically your projection will be slightly off in the depth. And so if there's any kind of parallax, it starts to become a problem. So that's just basically one way to figure out 3D depth. Yeah, that's basically, if you remember anything out of that, it's basically just put your card there. If it slides, it's not in the right spot. And if you really want to check the sliding, just do this time offset net difference, and then you'll see if it's sliding. And make sure that this is not set to perspective; it's set to UV. And that's how you do it. I need to like those are the kind of things like I would probably record an actual video on, because I need to like refine it and explain it better. Because when I'm just explaining it live, it's a little bit harder to articulate it. But all right, so what am I actually trying to do here? World alignment in B. So let me just double check this. I'm gonna open Blender in a second, and it's gonna turn into a Blender stream, maybe not, but we'll see. One second. Scene lineup. Okay. So I think this is mostly correct. I need to re-export this just in case, but should have the face mask as well, but I don't. But this is why it needs to all be in world space. So if I wanted this ball to reflect it, which I will, I already did this in my other scene, but let's just check it out. Switch to Eevee and put it metallic. Maybe it doesn't want to reflect that. Let's see. Screen space reflection. This is gonna be a crappy reflection, but we'll try it just for. I'm not gonna switch to ray trace and live stream because it'll probably crash my computer. But yeah, anyways, you need to have this relative to the guy because I'm gonna be reflecting the actual projections of the camera. So if I switch, I'll just try it. Let's not crash it, but we'll try. We'll try it. All right. So it might lag my microphone. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, let's see. This is a fairly complex shader. I actually did a shot already with it, so I can show you guys. I do have a 3090, so it should be fine, but I don't know. Let me pull in this footage first. Plates denoised. All right, so this is the other shot I did. This is the wrong color space. I posted this a few months ago on a short or something. Anyways, this is the other shot, but I'll let this cache first before I show it. There's a bunch of leaves and like random stuff on the ground. This is all for tracking, mainly because if you try to track ice, it's not very good to track. So I literally just took a bunch of debris and tried to get something to track. I did have tracking markers, but I didn't want to waste them on the ice because it's going to ruin the markers if they get wet. So I just took some like pieces of tape and random sticks and stuff, and a few leaves. Because, you know, if you're tracking ice, if you think about it, all of these points are actually reflections. So that's not good to track because that means they're going to move. So it's going to break your track. And then the rest of all this stuff is like flat. So you have like perfectly flat areas. You can't track anything there. And then there's like linear areas, which is not good to track either because there's just these lines that are out of focus. So not a lot of great stuff to track by default. Anyways, this is actually the end shots. This is gonna be, I'm gonna be doing like a few shots here of like some of this sequence. This is gonna be like a mini sequence I'm working on. So it's not done. I have a QC stuff to do. So there's actually some problems with my chroma key right now. So there's a few little like QC flickers and stuff, but it's pretty much, at least creatively, I think I'm happy with it. Good enough for what I'm doing. So yeah, this will be. Yeah, I'm gonna do a bunch of tutorials out of this one and some of the other shots that go in this sequence. So this is like the close-up. It's basically the same shot, but although this one will probably be even harder with the CG, just because the CG has to hold up a little bit closer to the camera, because it's slightly out of focus, so it should be okay. But I did a 3D scan for the. Basically, this dude is like holding a lettuce, or like, I don't know. It's actually a kale, but we 3D scanned it, and then I put that in the sphere. Yeah, and then the whole background is sculpted using a bunch of sculpting software, and I used Gaia to create the canyon, and then I used a bunch of like layered shaders and sculpted stuff for the ice. So I sculpted a bunch of ice pieces, and then there's a bunch of comp treatment on it to make it look more like ice, but yeah, that's pretty much it for this one. So that's what I'm basically doing right now on the next one. I basically need to orient this on another shot, so that'll be interesting. I don't know if I'll do that on stream or not because it might literally crash my stream because there's like millions of polygons in that geometry, so we'll see. For lens distortion, you can, like, if you have a lens grid, you're definitely better, but if you don't, you can still do it most of the time, unless it's like really warped. It's always better to have it if you have it. It's kind of like, you know, like for example, this shot I'm working on right now, it would have been better if I had 3D scanned the face mask, because I did like a rough model of it, and I basically aligned it with GeoTracker like this, and just tracked it, and it tracks pretty well. But I know that the proportions of this mask thing are not correct because I just roughly modeled it to the footage I have. I don't actually have the correct dimensions of the mask itself. So the parallax is always going to be slightly off on a track because it's not a perfect 3D model. So it's like whenever you have whatever onset data you have, is always better to have more than less. But that doesn't mean you can't do a visual effects shot without it, because there's like so many times that you never have that data and they still pull off the visual effects shot. So it just makes it easier in terms of like fiddling around on the back end. Can you do a visual effects shot without the lens distortion grid? Of course. Can you do can you light a visual effects shot without capturing an HDRI on set? Of course. But it's always better to have it because it just makes it easier. So yeah, same with the lens distortion grid. But if you had a horrible shot that was like really warped and didn't have a grid, it would probably suck. Like if you're doing like a GoPro shot and you didn't have it, you had nothing to figure out the distortion. I've seen people where they manually try to unwarp the footage by eye as well, just to try to get something better. Like those really, really tricky shots will usually go to like a match move artist, and they would usually figure it out. If it's like horrible, you know, that's usually where like a matching artist is going to be like stepping into, because they're like a specialist in that pretty much. Yeah, there's a pretty some of the techniques. Yeah, I learned for the ice stuff in the industry, but some of it I just figured it out recently because I was doing a bunch of layered shader stuff. I also have been recreating a lot of my techniques in Nuke in Blender. Like for example, like Pmats, I was recreate. I used a GPT-4 actually to create like a Pmat tool, which is useful for grading in 3D. Which like I don't know why no 3D artists do this. It's really weird. It's like you always have to go into UVs and stuff, which is always terrible experience. And when you look at people like Ian Hubert and those guys, they don't touch that. They're just doing like the fast way. So I'm always attracted to that sort of approach. So I've been trying to recreate various like comp techniques in Blender, which is useful because then I can like, hey, I want to change the roughness of this section, and I can do it either through projections or I can do it through essentially distance-based color corrections in 3D. The same way you do it in Nuke if you're doing like a Pmat like this, and I want to grade just like a specific spot on a CG. You can also do it in 3D. I don't know why it's not common practice, at least as far as I'm aware from 3D people. I've never really seen 3D people talking about it. But yeah, I don't know. I've been messing around with that. So like here I have a script. I have this little button here that says add position mat. Oh, it actually glitched. That's funny. Wonder if I'm running a different version of Blender. Interesting. Oh, it didn't glitch before. Oh, not worked. I don't know. Okay. Anyways, you have this thing. And I have this. And so let's say I want to grade this, like, let's say I want to grade this a different color. Should be able to see it. Yeah, it doesn't work. It definitely works. I just use this on a bunch of CG scenes, so I don't know. It was because I didn't have the object selected. That's why. But anyways, this is, yeah, it's just I just created it like a Python. I didn't even make it. I just prompted GPT-4 a bunch of times and tried to explain it, and it just does it for you. So if you guys aren't using AI stuff, I don't know why, because it's like you have like a superpower sort of person that can help you on. Maybe it's little tasks. Maybe someone who does a lot of coding, it'd be very simple for them. But for me, it's like, hey, this is a pretty good tool. And if you have those little creative ideas, you know, especially those like Claude AI and those various tools are very useful. So yeah, this is useful for like this. I can grade an environment. But if I have a few objects using the same Pmat and the same material, this would not be, like if I was doing this in the UVs, fine, I could bring in Photoshop and all this stuff. But what if I wanted to blend between these two different objects? Well, it's not that straightforward if you're not using like position-based stuff. So this is where like this is useful, because like here I can basically do something like this, and maybe there's like usually with CG, it's always those like very sharp edges that look terrible. So if I can use position-based stuff to either darken or maybe increase the roughness and make it look wet, or try to blend it with a puddle or whatever. Those are kind of sort of the various concepts that I'm thinking about. And I'm always doing it in Nuke, but it's also nice to have it directly in 3D, because I can literally plug this into like roughness, and then I could make this like metallic. And maybe let's invert it. It's just it'd be more obvious. Like if I wanted to make a puddle, why is this? This should be, let me make this darker. There we go. So I wanted to make like a puddle. Let's just grade it. Yeah, like this. You can see like I can just do it like this, and I can just make stuff look wet based on the position. So, and then I can just adjust the fall off here. So that's why I kind of wanted it directly in 3D space versus, yeah, it's just like a distance-based gradient. It's fairly straightforward. You could do like squares and stuff too. But what's nice about this is you could also stretch it out. So I did this a lot for those ice patterns that I was bringing into Nuke. I was creating some layered shaders kind of like this. I was like stacking these on top of each other, because if you look at ice in real life, there's like thick ice, but then there's like on the edges it gets darker and wet and more transparent. So it's hard to get those type of things without having to UV a bunch of CG objects, which I don't want to do. So either I'm just going to do it in Nuke and do it faster, or if I can do it in sort of a pseudo comp way in Blender, then I'll do it that way. So that's kind of I'm always looking for the fast way to do things versus like you know, trying to go in Substance Painter and doing some, even though I like Substance Painter, you know, I'm trying to always think like a compositor mostly, which is like projections and 3D space and stuff like that. So yeah, what's up? Yeah, so this is like the Pmat in Blender. I should release the script. I'll probably just put it out there for free or whatever. It's basically just Pmat in Blender, but what's nice about this little plugin, that when I click a new one, it'll create a new, it automatically creates the empty, it automatically creates the node setup, and it creates all the math inside of here, so you don't have to figure it out. And then that will basically, I can grab this other empty, and then I can grade my CG over here like this. And if I wanted to add those together, I don't know why I'm going into a Blender tutorial. I should start another YouTube channel. I've been thinking about it just to like, because I have tons of experiments of things that I don't do that's necessarily compositing related. I still want to stay comp focused on everything I'm doing on this channel, but I'm doing a lot of CG stuff that I think maybe people would find interesting. But I haven't like talked about it because it doesn't directly relate to Compositing Academy, I guess, but I don't know. Might just be interesting to document some of that process as well. Let's see. So this should be, let's see. This should be this. Oops. And then invert this. And then boom, we got these, and then now we can control roughness based off of two different stuff, and there you go. And you could do that, and then you could just like create puddles like that, which is pretty cool. Also, it's good for, I've done a lot of, I don't know, I've been messing around a lot with, just for fun, like VR environments and virtual reality environments. It's kind of like, it's very interesting discipline, because it's kind of like compositors, you have to know all these tricks of old video games. Like a lot of stuff you do in Nuke is like all like, it's all through scanline render, which means you're basically recreating like old PS2 video game tricks of like sprites and things that face the cameras and things like this. And so VR environments, it's the same sort of paradigm right now, because it's limited hardware. And so like various tricks with like light baking and projections and stuff like that, if you take compositing techniques and you apply it into VR, there's like almost zero people in the world doing this, and it's very interesting because the cross-discipline techniques and the way you can apply it is very interesting. And most people in those spaces come from mobile development, not necessarily feature film. So it's just something I've been thinking about, because I just find it interesting. I've always been obsessed with kind of merging virtual and real stuff. That's why I'm a compositor, but it kind of applies across the board. Anyway, that's all to say. I might start a second YouTube channel just for it. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I don't know. I could go through this script maybe. I don't know if I'll go through this whole script right now, but the paint for those shots is, you know what? I could open it up on this one. I have one of the paintwork on this computer. I had to do a similar paint. This one's a little bit simpler. Still relatively complex. Basically, I had to like paint out this had the same problem. We have an opaque object covering where I need to see through it. Not particularly great. So let me just open this. Shot one. Key. Let's see. I don't even know where I saved it. I saved it in a different script because there's a huge script. Key updated. Yeah. Yeah, the ice around the feet is all real. Mainly because that would be a nightmare to do in CG. And that would not be ideal. So this is, I think this script is just the key. It's like a huge script. I didn't organize it well, so the script people out there are gonna see it, but it's okay. Mainly because I forgot about the order I wanted to do it in. Let's see. Yeah, this shot's a little bit annoying with the QC stuff, mainly because these edges are pretty messed up. When you have an overexposed object behind a motion blurred edge, you're gonna always have problems, like this kind of stuff. So there's a lot of like restoring this in the prep that I still need to tweak it a little bit. It's not done in my quality control stuff yet. Mainly I'm just trying to get all the shots done and then I'll go back and QC them or whatever. But yeah, a lot of times it's just like frame holding patches like this, and then you're literally just tracking them back on like this, and you're kind of using skew and stuff like that. So that's where it gets gnarly in terms of like how many layers that's going to take you. It'll take a lot. And then you're just doing eye transforms and a lot of stuff like that. So a lot of warping, a lot of like patches and that kind of stuff. And that's how you're basically painting out. Let me go back to the original again. Yeah, because we're painting this out. We need to see the jacket because this is going to be replaced with glass. So the harder part, honestly, was just getting like refractions to look correct. And the actual script, I had to render that thing in layers, and I had to figure out how to render out that shader. Turns out rendering refractive objects that pass in front of live action and CG is kind of a nightmare. Especially if you want to have all the layers of your sphere. You can't just render seeing through the glass because everything you comp behind it, like if I have a background environment and I have a refractive object passing over it, and I render that as a separate layer, like that glass sphere, if I change the colors of the background environment, what would happen to the sphere? Because those colors are baked into the refraction. So it's kind of a problem rendering refractive objects. But I figured out a way to do it, but I'll have to do like a tutorial on it because that's like a lot of stuff. Yeah, this is actually how it's layered. There's like a whole bunch of different layers here. I'll do like a proper breakdown on this probably, but you can't just render a refractive object if you want to have the control in compositing. You can't do it. You actually have to render out like back facing. It's called like back face culling. There's like a technique where, I don't know if you've ever seen video game maps where if you fly outside the map and you look in, you can see the opposite side of the wall, but you're not seeing the wall that you're looking at. This is essentially what you need to do when you're rendering it for a compositor, because you need to have like the back side, the back inner side, and the outside that goes on the side that faces you. It would be easier if I had a graphic to explain it, but I don't. So yeah, that's like some of the layers, and then let's see, a bunch of color grades, and then a little bit darker diffusion, stuff like that. So I still got a QC edge. You can still see a little bit through on the edge there. So I gotta go through and paint the edges a little bit, but save the hard stuff for last. Try to just do the creative stuff first. Yeah, I saved all the versions because sometimes it'll help people to show the different versions I went through. Because when you see an end result of a comp and you're starting out, you're like, it's hard to like comprehend how you go from like a raw CG render to a final comp if you don't see the iterations, because it's always an iterative process. So yeah, eye transform is good. You pretty much need it for like prep stuff, I would say. I don't know. I don't like using grid warps that much. If I can avoid it. I like your eye transform better. It's pretty much the same thing except you can control it. Like if I just take this and I put a roto, it's pretty pretty useful. Honestly, this comp didn't take that long. It was more, you know what took the longest was just like roto, because there was a lot of roto on the shot. It took me like a little bit of time, maybe like 2 or 3 days or something to roto and prep it fully. The comp didn't take, I think comp only, the rendering was the longest part. The rendering took me a few days, and I rendered the refractive stuff wrong because I was thinking about it wrong, and then I ended up not having the level of control that I want. You can render it with less control, and that's fine, but my point of doing this in comp was that I could have like a really fine level of control in Nuke, and you have to render it a certain way. So that was where it started like getting more complex. But okay, so yeah, iTransform is basically just plug in a roto, you can move it up, right? So just all it's doing is shifting the frame. But if you blur it, it'll warp it in a way that's kind of like gradual. So that's pretty much all it is. It's a good way to do those kind of stuff. It's really useful for prepping stuff, warping stuff, yeah, stuff like that. It's pretty cool for like if you plug in like a noise or something as well, you can do like some crazy stuff. Yeah, you can make some like crazy force fields and stuff. It's sort of like a glass. The glass node is similar, but I don't know. The plates, I converted them into well, linear aces, but it was originally shot in S-Log3. I really like S-Log3. I've gotten used to it now. Originally it took me forever to figure it out because like I'm not sure if it's 100% the right workflow, so I wouldn't share the workflow. It works, it looks good. I'm using ProRes RAW through Sony FX3. I was trying to recreate the workflow they did on the Creator, the same exact camera, same color, science, and everything like that. It works, but I would probably check with the colorist first just to make sure that, and just see what they're doing on their end. But it's good enough for like really cool VFX shots and everything like that, so it doesn't really matter. But colorists, they have, yeah, it goes like some pretty crazy stuff. So, yeah, I don't know. There's a bunch of cool elements in the shot though. This is all some of these are CG, blowing fog, have some different, why is nothing showing up here? Yeah, here's all the sphere layers. This is why it took me a little bit of time to render. Plus, if you want no noise in the denoise passes out of Blender, it takes a little bit of time to cook. So like stuff like this, I wanted like the ability to blend different levels of refraction basically, because I also wanted to look like, I don't know, I just wanted full control. So like here it's interesting because you have like, you're not just adding a reflection on, you're not doing a plus, you're not doing an add and just plussing this over, because the reflections are actually reflecting a dark mountain. So you can't just plus this over the background. That's not how you can layer this. It's not like a normal CG where it's just you're adding all the layers together. You actually need to have the darkness in the edges. So that means this refraction pass isn't over, which that's where it gets interesting. So you have that. I also have like a volumetric pass in there. I have a pass that just that also has the plate character reflecting in the edges. I have a mirror pass that I can just, if I want to add a slight bit of reflection onto the front of the surface. I have this one, which is just like a texture. I also have a back texture. It looks the same, but if you actually look at this is crazy. If I merge them over each other and hit play, you actually see that they're passing like this. So you're getting parallax. So you're getting the inside edge of the dirt and you're getting the outside edge. And so it's going to make it look more three-dimensional versus just rendering out an albedo pass. You need to actually render out an albedo pass of just the back-facing faces to get that. So, yeah. And then yeah, it's just a bunch of other stuff. This is like a refraction and all this kind of stuff. This is the lettuce. This is kind of funny. Let's see. Beauty. I did a bit of, so this is a 3D scan of lettuce. It's under an orange light, that's why it's so orange. This is like the non-comp lettuce. If I grade it up, it's pretty ugly, just raw. But it's interesting thing with Polycam though. If you have subsurface scattering, it's gonna break, because subsurface scattering only works if you have two faces, not one. If you have one thin, like if you have a plane, it's not going to calculate subsurface scattering. You need some level of thickness. And if you have Polycam scans, there's some areas that become super thin, as in one plane, and then your subsurface is going to break. So that was another thing I ran into. So I was like, okay, well, I need to just fake the subsurface in Nuke, which is easy enough, but it's just something you need to know. Like, because I was playing around with subsurface scattering, and that, yeah, it's not going to work with the Polycam scan, at least the way I was doing it. So yeah, that's the main thing. Yeah, I don't know, that's pretty much it. Also, we have these, got this smoke. This is the ones we filmed a few months back. If you guys took the Blender class or whatever, these come with, there's like 5 or 6 of these that come with the class as well. These are all like a bunch of filmed elements. These ones are really nice. I like that I actually like that they have these occlusions on the ground. I've been using this element in a bunch of different shots, because it's actually hard to find a good element that looks like that, to be honest. So this was filmed with like a 30-pound block of dry ice, or 25-pound block of dry ice, and then we like put it on a huge 50-foot black tarp and black screen to capture these. So those are pretty cool. These are good to just like mix into your CG, get a little bit of motion into it, basically. Yeah, so I don't know. Yeah, all right, let me get back to what I was doing. I'll close this shot. Close it. And yeah, I don't know, if anybody wants this, you can message me. I don't know if there's any Blender people out there, but all right, let me open up this other scene lineup. I'll close this. What's up? What's up? How's it going? Oh, nice. Sean, how's it going? So what am I doing? I need to bring in another file here. Let's see. Person face mask new. Okay. Why is that not there? Okay, I need to re-export this because it's not appearing. Let's do that. Something not working here. Execute global. New B. All right. Oh, there's my terrain. Oops. That's part of my terrain. This is Gaia. I've been getting into Gaia a lot, actually. For terrains, pretty awesome. All right, let me just get this back. Here's my background. Import. There we go. All right, there we go. Now we got a mask. So this should be relatively close. So it's always weird, right? Because like, my guy's not actually 3D, so I got to figure out where that's supposed to be. As long as it's close enough to reflect into the sphere, it'll be good enough. I'm gonna parent some spheres in the eyes actually for this, because that's what I want. And if the reflections are slightly bigger than the plate, I don't really care, because I can just mask them by the plate. So I'll just put some spheres in for his eyes, because yeah, After Effects you can do like simple 2D compositing, but if you want to get into like 3D stuff, or primarily if you want to work on feature films, you have to use Nuke. That's just there's no alternative. Every single studio uses Nuke, so if you want to start working on like professional stuff, you pretty much have to do it. They have a free version as well, so the non-commercial version, again, that's like the main thing that people don't know about for some reason, which is there's a free version. You can use it for any of your projects. There's no watermark. It's pretty great for this looks pretty weird. It's not gonna look weird, I promise. In the end, it's gonna look cool, but I need to have something to catch the reflections. This looks like some alien stuff. My god. All right. This is, yeah, it's you can do 3D compositing, you can do like more like camera projections and stuff, which it just means you can do more complex visual effects shots, really. And also, if you ever want to use like green screens and stuff, honestly, After Effects is terrible at keying. Like really terrible. Like, go try to mix two keys together in After Effects, and it's absolutely a horrible experience. You have to use like plugins and stuff like that. So it's just not. You can do like low end budget stuff with it for sure. You can pull a key and have weird edges, and there's a lot of people who would do it, but it's not meant for compositing. It's really more of a motion graphics tool, in my opinion. So, yeah, that's the main thing. All right, let me parent these. These need to be reflective too. This is gonna look super weird, but it's not rendered, so it's all right. Oh my god. Let's put this here. This looks super weird. It's once I render this in cycles, it'll actually reflect this, and it's gonna be fine. But this looks really bizarre. I should have made that the thumbnail. Yeah. But yeah, I would highly recommend Nuke if you're trying to do any kind of high-end work like feature film or high-end commercials, or you just want your own work to be at that level. It's kind of inevitable you have to make that shift at some point. These look too three-dimensional. I feel like I need to flatten them. I think something like that. I'm in Montreal, not Montreal now. I'm in Quebec. I'm not in New Zealand at this current state. All right. I promise this will look good at the end. Yeah, I have a biased answer to that answer, so I'm trying to make it the best possible resource out there. That's what I'm trying to do, but I don't know. There's like a few hundred hours of stuff now, so it's pretty extensive in terms of all the classes and stuff that's out there if you are trying to learn Nuke. All right, this is weird, but let's try it. Parent this to this. Face mask. This. Whoa, that didn't work. Wait a minute. Peace. I'll see you later, man. Honestly, what I'm trying to do with Compositing Academy, when I was learning this stuff, I did a million side projects, a million, and I'm just trying to make that easier for people. So basically, the best way to learn it is not just by watching stuff; it's by doing projects. And if you do the projects in the right order, you save a lot of time. And that's the main thing. Is like it's kind of like learning to draw. Like if you go to art school or something like that, they're gonna be like, here you're gonna learn perspective, you're gonna learn shading, you learn things in a specific order. You don't just try to draw like a masterpiece because you have none of the concepts. And so my whole philosophy with it is like if you learn the things in the right order, it makes it much easier to learn versus just like random bits of information. And that's a big problem, I think. All right, there we go. This looks a little bit jittery. I'm a little bit worried. It looked correct in the viewer, but maybe it is correct. Let's switch this to cycles. Okay. Let's see, mission. Let's just see what the reflections look like. I'm not gonna see the mask itself. That was just for. There we go. That's kind of working. Huh. A little bit off there. The rotation. Oh, it's because this plane is. No, it's not off. It's just the plane is cutting it off. How do I see? Alright. Let's see. Multiply this. Okay. It's rotated weird, but it's actually not. It looks weird, but if I hide the plate, it should be fine. Because technically, we don't know the exact distance of the face, so it doesn't matter. We just need to see that these eyes reflect. You could do, I don't know, with ray render you could maybe, but the problem is like you could definitely with the ray render if you have the geo track, but the thing is I want to have the CG lettuce thing in there. So yeah, I'm gonna have like an actual CG object in the sphere. It's not just gonna be it's just not gonna be like a white ball. So once I get the other CG in there, I just want to have the correct perspective, pretty much. I've done these shots before where I had to paint out. Actually, you know what? I had one. That was one of the hardest shots I ever had to do. Probably it was like there was a huge area light reflecting onto the glasses of this guy, and we needed to. It didn't look good. Like you're not reading the expression of the actor because you're not seeing his expression. So I needed to paint it out and literally hand paint the eye back in. So I had to take like chunks of the other eye, try to hand paint. And I'm not saying it like figuratively. It's like literally hand paint an eye like around the face and then track that back onto the face. So the idea that you could just add a CG reflection over the top of a real one never works. You have to remove the reflections and then you need to paint out what's ever there and then add CG reflections back on top. Especially if they're very like prominent like this. You can't just like blur it out. Yeah, this is pretty cool though. This is totally gonna work. I just hope it doesn't jitter. It looks like it's fine though. See, this is wrong. This is the wrong sphere. Wait a minute. Let me make sure I have the new sphere because I changed the position of it. Sphere track. New sphere track. New. All right, let me just import it. Import Olympic. Import Olympic. New. There we go. Okay, so this is the new one. Slightly different. It's a little bit bigger. It's gonna be out of focus as well, so hopefully I'm trying to make it a little bit easier on myself because I'm trying to put it out of frame slightly. Because if I put it in frame, then it's gonna be touching the ice, and then the ice should technically move, which we don't want to. I don't want to get in that kind of territory for this shot. Start talking about like fluids and stuff, it's gonna get really complicated. So I'm just kind of getting it as close to the frame as I can. And worst case scenario, I'll just cut it off at frame 86 and we won't do it. Because 3 frames or 4 frames to add that much complexity would not make sense. Okay, this is kind of working. That's pretty cool. All right, I don't want to import the whole scene and while I'm streaming because I have a feeling it could crash. So I won't do that part on stream because what I need to actually do now or pretty soon is I need to import this into this master scene. But this scene is very heavy with a lot of layers. So the weird thing about taking camera stuff is like, even if the scale and everything is correct, if you're doing your own projects, you don't have a match move team, you need to orient your whole setup, like this whole projection setup I'm doing here. This all needs to be grouped together and then oriented and scaled to the correct part of the scene. I did that Lightcraft video, and that's where their technology actually saves you a lot of time because they are doing that process for you. They're automatically scaling, orienting, doing all stuff. So if you're just like a single team, that's where that project was very interesting because they were solving the hard part. I didn't know, I filmed this before I had even used their application. So if I knew about their application, I probably would have used it actually because it saves a lot of time. If you want to work on features, just yeah, I would just like, depends what kind of like opportunities you're getting. My philosophy was always like, if you don't get the opportunities of that you're wanting, then just create them yourself. Like if you're not getting the kind of shots you want, figure out how to get those shots by yourself. But also just ask. Like I think people are really just afraid to ask for chances, which I don't think is a good approach. I think you just need to be not afraid to ask people for things, because usually people want to help you. Like most people are actually pretty cool, especially if they just have to know that you want to do that, or if you want to do more things like that. So yeah. All right, I think this is good for now. What else do I want to do on the stream before I end it? I'll probably end it somewhat soon here. I don't know. What else do you guys want to know? This is how you check a track. Put a grid. I like grids with tracks. I don't know. I use them a lot. Grids. The concept is kind of like, I don't know, sort of like, I want to do like this sort of dystopian sci-fi thing. So it's kind of like this, I was thinking of it like a farmer kind of thing, in terms of it's like obviously it's toxic outside. So there's like a mask, but it's like they're farming on some kind of crazy planet. So I don't know. Maybe post-apocalyptic. Someone told me there's literally a term for this. I didn't even know this before I started this project. It's called frostpunk. It's like steampunk, but it's like frostpunk, which is pretty cool. So that kind of style. Oh, nice, Kenneth. What's up, man? Of course, I remember. How's it going? Yeah, yeah. Just create your own. I don't know. I'm always a big believer in that. Just like create your own opportunities in terms of like if that's shots or if it's like asking people for opportunities and stuff. Um, One thing is kind of like you can ask for opportunities, but you should also like prove that you can do it first. Like if someone doesn't know you, they have no reason to trust you. So if you kind of build trust with people and then say, "Hey, can I do that cool shot?" If you're trying to get a better shot on your reel, usually people will be kind of open to that, and a lot of people just don't do that for some reason. And you should, uh, because you'll get those chances to kind of get more. Because if you're always doing the same type of work, you'll never improve. That's why like these projects for me are very interesting because obviously I'm doing the compositing. And I learn things every project still, even with compositing, I learn new techniques every single project. But uh, I'm learning a ton of CG and filmmaking and all kinds of stuff while I'm creating these. So I'm teaching the portion I know, but I'm actually learning a ton of new stuff constantly with all of these projects. So I have like a constant flow of new techniques and all these things I'm learning. Um, yeah, it's definitely, in my opinion, I don't know. I just always like learning new stuff. So that's just my like that's the one thing you have. If you don't have anything, the one thing you can't lose is like your skills and your knowledge. Is That's my opinion. That's why I think like learning is worth it. Um, uh, do you think learning Blender has made your workflow slower since using more techniques to work? Honestly, like you can render some like better things out of Blender in less time than it takes you to do it all within Nuke. Like I could open Blender, render something, render it back out, put it back into Nuke, and I have something that looks better than messing around with a certain approach in Nuke. And so I'm always just looking for like the best approach to get the result. Like for example, one example of that, you want 3D volumetrics in a scene, you want to do like 3D fog or 3D mist. It's a terrible process to do in Nuke if there's tons of parallax, but if you go into Blender, in less than 5 minutes, you could have a working setup and render it with full 3D and put it back into Nuke. And you could have your holdouts and everything. You don't even have to touch deep in that scenario. So it's like, uh, I don't know. I did that back at MPC as well, at various studios as well, where it's like, um, the way those huge pipelines are constructed is it's designed that you can only use one tool, and it makes sense on a huge production, but the over compartmentalization of things can also reduce speed for certain tasks if you can just do it yourself. So sometimes it makes sense to know adjacent skills even if you're a specialist, because then you can do things that even though they're outside of that pipeline will make things go faster, and actually you'll save the company money. That's how I think about it. So I've done it in a few times where like, hey, I need some particle rain or I need some stuff like that, where you're waiting on like effects team or you're waiting on some other team. Um, yeah, sometimes it's faster to like have those adjacent skills, but I don't know. For me, it's just like I want to do my own projects for the main reason. And I'm able to assemble these and film these projects and do the CG and stuff because I have the other skill set. That's mainly why. That's mainly my motivation for wanting to really pursue it, is to be able to do my own projects. I'm just reading the comments here. Yeah, yes, what I'm saying. Even like reflections and stuff, like ray render is cool, but try to get a soft shadow in Nuke. Like try to get a soft shadow. Like it's a nightmare. You can't even do something like that. So it's like you could learn 10 minutes of a different software and then open it, render a soft shadow, do a shadow catcher, render it out, put it back in, and then people are gonna like, hey, how did you how did you get that shadow that you didn't have? That's just a simple example for like this big studio, but like yeah. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, same for the model builder thing. Like it's faster to open up like that little face mask thing. I needed to create reflection in his eyes. How would you do that in Nuke? Like that's the question. It's like how would you do that in 5 minutes? It took me about 5 minutes or 10 minutes to do it. It's just like I could go here, screenshot this, reproject it in Blender, model the face, bring it back into Nuke, do the Keying Tools track, and now I have a 3D track of the face. So by just having us like a bare minimum of knowledge, you can do a lot more. Yeah. All right, what else am I doing here? I'm not doing anything, so I think I'm gonna end this pretty soon here. All these rotos were done in Nuke, by the way. Yeah, most of these rotos were done in Nuke. Yep. What else we got? Yeah. Let's see if I can open the scene. We'll see if it crashes. That's how we'll end the stream. We'll open the big scene. If it crashes, it crashes. We'll do it. Let's open the big scene. And if it opens, I'll show you some cool stuff. It's gonna take a second. Yeah, it depends on the volumetric. I don't know, Cycles is pretty good, but Eevee, if you want some simple volumetrics, like really fast, Eevee is like so fast. You can actually render VDBs. It's not physically accurate, but it's more physically accurate than it is to just fake it in Nuke. So that's why I liked really for volumetrics. You can bring in a VDB of some mist or something, like maybe use Embergen or something like that. Just get a few like background CG elements, bring in Eevee, throw some lights on it, and then you have something pretty good in a really short period of time. I like Embergen as well. Embergen's pretty cool. It's like some tools are faster to get to a result, even though they don't do everything. Like Houdini obviously does like everything, but I know some Houdini, but it's not my focus primarily. This is the actual scene I was building. I'm gonna switch to a mouse because this is kind of hard to navigate with a. Yeah. So this is where I need to import it basically. And I also probably need to build a little bit off to the right side. I think we're gonna be mostly at this angle, so it should be okay. Yeah, a lot of this I made in Gaia and some of it was sculpted in VR. So there's an app called Adobe Medium. It's pretty cool. Actually, my wife, she sculpted some of it for me. She does like some pretty cool sculpting stuff. So I'm not using Quixel because I need to redistribute these because I'm gonna plan on making these into projects and stuff. So usually I need to make a lot of my assets for those reasons. So I kind of like making stuff from scratch anyway, so it's fine. Quixel will be easier, but wouldn't be for Cliff though necessarily. So this, let me render this and hopefully not crash. I'll try something. I'll give it a second. This might crash it. FYI. We'll see. Let's see. Okay, still not crashing, but it's gonna render, so we'll see. Usually when you're streaming at the same time, it's pretty intense on the GPU. What the heck? Oh, that's why. We're on the wrong... What are we on here? Oh, it's gonna crash. Yeah, I don't know. Unreal's pretty good if you just want to like throw stuff together that exists. Sometimes these scenes are. This scene would be really hard to do in Unreal. I think for the background it would be perfect. I think Unreal would be perfect for it. But the sphere and dealing with the plate and projections and getting those things to work in Unreal would be. I think it would be a nightmare. Like Unreal with live action stuff. I'm not sold on it completely. I think for full CG stuff, it's like it's obvious, like it's really good for like large environments and stuff. But as soon as you start involving complex shaders or non-pre-existing assets where you need to build the assets anyway, and you need to go into a traditional pipeline anyway, then it's like it starts to get questionable whether or not that makes sense. But probably like a mixed approach. All right, here we go. So that's the CG for this water. Looks a little bit dark and stuff. It's not perfect from the render, but that's why I comped it after. So, but this is a fairly complex shader. It's like there's like 5 layers of different stuff going on here. But again, I was using the. Let's see if I can move around. Okay, I'm gonna. It looks like I can move. Oops. I don't know. I mean, you could like definitely get stuff out of Unreal, but it's not like there's some problems, especially with live action footage. That's more where I'm getting at. If it's full CG, I've seen some pretty cool stuff. You might run into some edge issues and stuff. Technically, but technically any renderer you can have edge issues if you're not using deep. So. But there are some other AOV problems from what I've seen. But especially in relation to things that are like refractive. But like this would be way faster. You know, like look how slow it is what I'm trying to show you guys right now. This would probably be faster. But creating this material in Unreal, I don't know, maybe it wouldn't be that hard. Might be straightforward. But anyways, a lot of times, in my opinion, it's faster to change things not in the material itself, but in comp anyway, in terms of the actual look, because it's not about the render time that makes it just faster. It's not always about render time. It's also about if I do 300 color corrections, there's still like a time investment in that process of iterative image development. And I think that not doing it in the physical materials is often faster because if I adjust the material on this specific piece of ice, all of those pieces of ice are going to change unless I create an instance and then I try to like create its own map, or if I just want some little highlights on it, you know, it gets pretty annoying for like one specific change. So if you want detailed precision, yeah, it just makes sense to not do it that way, in my opinion. But if you don't care, if you just want like the general look of things faster, then it makes sense, I think, to use it in a lot of if you're doing that full on, just committing to that workflow. Yeah, so that's the ice, yeah. But anyways, I need to orient the second scene to here. So the first scene is like this. So here's what it looks like. I'm gonna switch to texture view because otherwise it's gonna take forever. All right, let's see. Yeah, no, I think for huge environments, it makes a lot of sense. Anyways, here's the, that's what it looks like when you have the projection in there and stuff. And then you have the sphere, and then this sphere is reflecting the scene, and also it's passing through. So that's what I meant about where it gets complex with the sphere. Because if I render this and it gets the background at the same time, then I can't control the many layers in the sphere itself. So that's where this shot is actually probably the most complex. All right, so, and it always looks weird when you're doing the plate on the sharp edges as well, because that's where you have to do the blend point. So wherever your green screen is cut off, you're gonna have to do roto no matter what to blend it. So yeah. Yeah, these are all sculpted in VR. Also, I'm using a lot of triplanar projection for these. I'm not UVing everything because that would take forever. So it's a little bit faster doing it that way for the CG people. Same with these. Like, these are distance. This is just like sort of kit bashing different stuff, and then using different stuff based on the normals to texture the snow. Just a snow material that kind of detects the angle. And that's pretty much it. And then these like holes in the ice are, I don't know, like 3 or 4 projections laid on top of each other. So yeah. Anyways. All right, well, that's pretty much it for the stream. There's like, there's like 28 people now. All right, well, people just coming on, but I'm about to peace out. But I don't know if you guys have any questions about it, but I'll probably do some more, a more structured video on this once it's all done. I got to do a few more shots related to it. I just want to make it like more of a sequence than just a shot. Yeah, DMP is more like being a generalist, to be honest. It's more like DMP is really different than it used to be, I think, as well. It's not like 2D. It's like you gotta know some 3D stuff, and like Gaia would be a good one to learn probably. A lot of people using Gaia now for terrains. I wish I had the picture of this lettuce. I'll show it in the breakdown. This is literally a scan. We put it on the table. We scanned this 3D lettuce. Let's see if I have it actually. It doesn't hold up like super close because it's still a polycam thing. And like if you were to scan foliage, normally I was looking into it, the process of how people go about doing that normally you're actually breaking all the leaves apart, flattening them, scanning each individual leaf, and then reconstructing it in all 3D. I was like, I'm not gonna do that. So I was just like, let's just see if I could do it faster, and it kind of works for the distance of the camera as well. So this is like what it is right here. This is kind of, yeah, you can see like from a distance I think it looks pretty good, but if you get really close to it, you know, it's still like a little bit mushy. But we'll never see it that close. We'll always be about this far away, and then there's a shot that we see it closer, but it's going to be out of focus slightly. So I knew that mostly I could get away with it. The reason we used the ball instead of just the handle is because this was casting the light onto the person. So this is yeah, this is literally like a lantern. Or it's actually a beach ball off of like Amazon. but this is, I wanted the interactive light onto the person. So all this cast lighting onto the person is really important. Otherwise it's gonna look really not integrated. So yeah, I mean, it's like prepped out in the end, so it's all like prepped out like this. Yeah. But yeah, this is what I was talking about with the subsurface scattering. If you use polycam scans, you're going to run into an issue with subsurface scattering. That's why most people aren't scanning plants that way. Most likely, that's part of the reason why, I imagine. Because any face, like if I look at this, I mean, this is like a polycam scan. I didn't even like optimize it or anything. But it, I mean, polycam's great. Don't get me wrong. It actually works super great for this. But if I were to go and find some of these faces that aren't double-sided, so like you can see it's all just like auto UV, auto whatever, but nothing's kit bash. We made everything in this. Yeah, I didn't kit bash. I didn't. I made everything, even the discs and stuff. So yeah, let's see. Yeah, I did try subsurface on this, but yeah, I just for the subsurface to fake it, I just keyed the shadows, boosted them a tiny bit. That's it. Put a little bit of green into them. If you look at light passing through lettuce or skin or whatever, a lot of times subsurface you can fake it in comp by just targeting the opposite faces and then just kind of putting a bit of color into it. The same way it visually looks. It's not simulated, but it doesn't matter. So, yeah. Yeah, at some point they just become single walls. I'm also using a plugin. Where is it? A UV box project. It's just doing box projections for all the textures. So it simplifies it a bit. And then actually for the spheres, because I didn't want to render them in multi-layers like I did for the main one, I just used 2D images and stuck them back there, so it's a bit faster. Like these ones. These are actually just like 2D. I just took this one and stick it back there and retrack it, rotate them, stuff like that. Otherwise I have to break it into layers again, which is going to take forever. So alright, well, that's pretty much it for the stream. Like I said, maybe I might launch a second YouTube channel and just do weird like CG stuff on there. I'm gonna do all the comp stuff here, but like more CG oriented, I think I might do it on a separate channel or something. We'll see. Alright guys, that's pretty much it. Happy Friday night. Hope everyone's doing good. And yeah, I'll probably end it here. If you guys want to learn compositing, Composite Academy, I'll give a shameless plug. That's pretty much what I'm working on. That's what all this stuff is for, pretty much. So yeah. Alright guys. Alright guys, peace. That's it.